Happy New Year and welcome to the Perrysburg Podcast, episode 128. I'm your host, Perrysburg resident Kim Newlove. The Perrysburg Podcast is a resource for Perrysburg residents. We talk about what's in Perrysburg and why people like to live here. Our website is perrysburgpodcast.com. This is my annual vision board episode. Last year's vision board episode was episode 76. When I published that one, I talked about my vision board and my episode to do list for 2025. Today is the 2026 version. I have a new vision board for 2026 and a new to do list. I will talk about both today, and you can also read the details in the blog post for this episode. This is episode 128, and you can find that on perrysburgpodcast.com. Now, just in case you like stats, I shared roughly 70 episode ideas in episode 76, the vision board episode for 2025, and I used about half of those ideas in 2025. That's about 35 ideas. Now, the remaining episodes, which would be 17, because I do weekly episodes, the remaining 17 episodes all fit in with the vision board, but roughly 3 out of every 10 episodes in 2025 were not on my original to do list. I learned something every year I run this podcast. From last year's stats, I learned that it is good to have a vision board and a to do list, but it's also good to be flexible and leave some room for spontaneity. What am I going to do with the other 35 leftover ideas from 2025? Many of the ideas left over from 2025 made it onto my 2026 to do list, and they also fit in with this year's vision board. Plus, I'm leaving room for some wild cards, just like last year, and I also added some things. I have a problem this year, though. The last episode of this podcast is scheduled for July 3rd, 2026. When I started this podcast, the Perrysburg podcast, back in 2023, July 2023, I only planned to run it for 3 years. As I publish this episode, episode 128, on January 2nd, 2026, the countdown to the finale is here. I have 26 episodes left and 46 episode ideas. I will circle back to this problem in July, if not before. For now, let's talk about what's on the 2026 vision board and the to do list. I have 12 categories on my vision board again this year. I had 12 last year, there's 12 again this year, and I have 46 episode ideas. If you would like to see the vision board, look closely at today's podcast episode artwork and you will see it there. I know it's tiny. As for the episode ideas, I'll go through those in just a minute. What are the categories on the vision board this year, 2026? They are number 1, scheduled episodes, number 2, faith community leaders and places of worship. That's one category. Number 3, attractions. Number 4, resident interviews. Number 5, sources of information. Number 6, the arts. Number 7, sports. Number 8, scouts. Number 9, school related. Number 10, City of Perrysburg topics. Number 11, police and fire department topics. And number 12, miscellaneous topics. That's it for the 12 categories on my 2026 vision board for the Perrysburg podcast. Now, in a nutshell, what's different this year? I had 12 categories last year. There are 12 this year. What's different? I removed the parks category and the medical series category because I have an episode about every park. So I feel like that category is done and the medical series is over. I had 4 episodes, and so that category is complete. So eliminating both categories, parks and the medical series, just made sense. Now, I added a scheduled category for my annual vision board episode and the finale, which is also the 3-year podcast anniversary episode. And then I also added a category for the arts. I am already diving into the episode ideas, as you can already tell. So let's go through each category one at a time, and I will share episode ideas for each category. The first category, which I've already shared, is called scheduled episodes. I don't have anything to add other than what I already said a minute ago. The only two episodes in the scheduled episodes category are this one today, which is my 2026 vision board and to do list. And the second one is the finale episode slash 3 year podcast anniversary celebration episode on July 3rd, 2026. The second category on my vision board is faith community leaders and places of worship. I would like to interview the pastor or priest or faith community leader from the following 8 places. Number one is the Islamic Center of Greater Toledo. I've been in touch with somebody named Mona. I look forward to that interview here in 2026. Number two is the Christian Science Reading Room, which is located right next to Nedley's Ice Cream Shop on South Boundary Street. I've been in touch with a gentleman named Chuck, and I look forward to that interview in 2026 as well. Third on the list is Stonebridge Church, which actually shares a church space with my church, Lutheran Church of the Master, on Simmons Road here in Perrysburg. Number four is St. Rose Catholic Church. I've been in touch with the priest, but we have not scheduled an interview yet. Number five is Shepherd of the Valley Lutheran Church on 5 Point Road. Number six is First United Methodist Church. They have one of the preschools here in town as well, so I'd like to talk to the pastor about the church and the preschool. Number seven is the Presbyterian Church at Elm and Second. You know the one. They've always got Christmas trees at Christmas time. And number eight, Cedar Creek Church. If you would like me to feature your church and I did not list it here, please reach out. I am open to other interviews. My email address is kim@perrysburgpodcast.com. That does it for faith community leaders and places of worship. The third category is what I call attractions in Perrysburg. I would like to interview someone from the Fort Meigs YMCA, possibly Jacob Muellerschern, about the Mary Chris Kay Endowment that honors longtime Fort Meigs YMCA swim coach Mary Chris Kay. She has not only coached our young ones here in town, but she has also coached adult lap swimmers. So I would like to interview someone from the Fort Meigs YMCA about the YMCA, but I would definitely like to cover the endowment for Mary Chris Kay as well. If you would like to donate to that endowment, I will put a link in the show notes on perrysburgpodcast.com. Other attractions in Perrysburg that I'd like to cover are the 577 Foundation. I have spoken with Heather Gallant over there at the 577 Foundation. She is the executive director. We just have to schedule a time. I teach at the 577 Foundation. I run into Heather from time to time. We're going to make it happen here in 2026. And I would also like to interview someone from the Fort Meigs Historical Site, the Spafford House Museum, possibly someone from the Wood County Park District and the Toledo Metro Parks. So I would say these are all attractions in Perrysburg: the YMCA, the 577 Foundation, the Fort Meigs Historical Site, Spafford House Museum, the Wood County Park District, and the Toledo Metro Parks. And that does it for attractions. Next up, I also have resident interviews on my vision board for 2026. That's the fourth category. In 2025, the number one interview that I wanted to record was with Perrysburg resident Doug Pratt. Unfortunately, I waited too long and Doug has now passed away. Naturally, I regret waiting, and may Mr. Pratt rest in peace. However, I have a different opportunity now. I am still interested in talking about Doug Pratt on this podcast. When Doug Pratt died, I saw just how many lives he touched, from the firefighters to the American Legion to the local farmers to just everyday citizens. So, what I would like to do is I would like to propose a Remembering Doug Pratt episode with some mini interviews from multiple people, multiple Perrysburg residents. If you recall from the Vision Board episode last year, I was originally interested in interviewing Doug because, as a retired farmer, he had a lot of farm land, and he and his wife, now deceased as well, planned to donate their farmland to the Wood County Park District. I am a grandchild of a farmer, and my grandpa gave his land to his four children, one of whom is my mom, of course, and they sold the farmland. I am fascinated because Mr. and Mrs. Pratt decided to donate their farmland to the Wood County Park District. I am fascinated by this donation, and I would definitely like to hear more about that from the Wood County Park District, as well as hearing people share about Mr. Pratt himself. If you are listening to this and you can help me with the Doug Pratt episode, please reach out either through the website, which is perrysburgpodcast.com, or via email. My email address is kim@perrysburgpodcast.com. I would also like to interview the following Perrysburg residents in 2026. Justin and Krista Marchand, they are parents to five daughters, and they sit right in front of me in the pew in front of me at my church. They have a very interesting story about how they met and fell in love, and I would love for them to talk about their relationship, how it came to be, and why they chose to move to Perrysburg and raise their five daughters here. I would also like to interview my friends Lionel and Nikki Brock and Richard Baranowski. Richard Baranowski is the Way Library local history librarian. He knows a lot about Perrysburg and he is a lifelong Perrysburg resident. So I've got a lot of great Perrysburg resident interviews coming up in 2026. That's all for resident interviews. The next category on my vision board is sources of information. I would like to interview someone from these two places. Number one is the Perrysburg Messenger Journal newspaper, which I lovingly call the PMJ, and the Historic Perrysburg Inc. organization. These two made the list of sources of information that I would like to cover in 2026 because these are the only other two major sources of information about Perrysburg that I have not covered yet. I mentioned both of them in episode 6 back in 2023, and I would like to dedicate an episode to each of them in 2026. I am especially interested in an interview with someone from the Perrysburg Messenger Journal because the Perrysburg Messenger Journal, or Welch Publishing, the parent organization, just consolidated offices with Welch Publishing's print shop in Rossford just this week on December 29th. I wish them well, but I would love to hear more about how they will continue to be part of the Perrysburg community from Rossford. That's it for sources of information. The arts is next. The arts is a new category on my vision board for 2026, and it is the sixth category on my list today. Six episode ideas made it into this category. They are number one, a student led nonprofit organization called Musicians for Causes. The second one is the Perrysburg Chorale. Number three is the Audio Flare Recording Studio, and that's at the Toledo School for the Arts. Not technically in Perrysburg, but many of our Perrysburg residents have children who go to school at the Toledo School for the Arts. Specifically, I would like Audio Flare Recording Studio to talk about how they help local authors with audiobook production. If you are a local author, you'll want to catch that episode. Number four is Grassroots Recycling to Reuse, LLC. Number five is the Woodlands Park Sculpture Walk. And number six is the Perrysburg Hearts the Arts Festival. I would like to help Visit Perrysburg promote that festival. By the way, this new category was inspired by a high school student here in Perrysburg. Perrysburg High School student Robbie Shang co leads Musicians for Causes. That's the first thing that I mentioned in this arts category. Musicians for Causes provides music performances in the community. They go to the Toledo Zoo, Kingston Residence, Woodhaven, I believe Robbie mentioned, and more. So, in and around Perrysburg, Musicians for Causes are providing music performances to spread joy through the power of music and to also raise funds for their student led nonprofit organization. Look for my interview with Robbie later this winter and visit their Instagram page in the meantime. It is at Musicians for Causes. That's at symbol musicians with an S, for spelled FOR, for causes at Musicians for Causes on Instagram. That's it for the arts. The seventh category today is sports. Sports made it onto my vision board again. There's a lot of sports activity in Perrysburg, and I held off on covering it because I wasn't sure if the school levy was going to pass in November 2025. Now that the levy has passed, what I would like to do, because there are so many sports in Perrysburg, is just get in touch with the high school athletic director. I believe it's Mr. Jayco, and I would like to ask him for an interview so he can tell my audience here about school sports, Perrysburg High School sports. I know that many other Perrysburg residents go to other schools, other high schools that have sports in the Toledo area. There's St. John's, St. Francis, St. Ursula, and Notre Dame. But it's really hard for me to cover absolutely all of this. So I'm going to think local first. I'm going to start with the high school. But I'd also like to talk with a local deer hunter. My friend Jason Holiday from the Harvest Holiday podcast will be the guest for that episode. I'm also hoping for an interview with Mario from Maumee Tackle. Maumee Tackle, of course, is in Maumee, but it is a very important bait and tackle shop for Perrysburg residents who fish the Maumee River. I have invited Mario to be on the show for 2 years running. Why not a third? Hopefully in 2026, we'll get Mario on the show. The other ideas that I have for the sports category are an episode about gyms in Perrysburg. I would like to have an interview with Pickleball Paul Smithers about pickleball in Perrysburg. Paul and I have talked about this. He's agreed to an interview, but he's doing the snowbird thing right now as I record this in January. So we will reconnect when he comes back in the spring. I would also like to talk about sports for school aged kids like gymnastics and dance. Not everything is a high school sport. A lot of kids start young with sports. There's also karate, too. There's a lot of sports going on in Perrysburg. There's also esports at the high school. I might have to ask Mr. Jayco about that, and maybe we can kill two birds with one stone. We'll talk about traditional physical athletics and also esports as well. And then the last item on my list here is curling. Curling is not technically in Perrysburg, it's technically in Bowling Green, but that's kind of part of the greater Perrysburg area. So I'm thinking about doing an episode about curling. And that's it for sports. Next up is Scouts. Scouts is category number 8 on my vision board here. Did you know that I was a Girl Scout? Yes, I started off in Brownies and then I got promoted to Girl Scouts. And I did not stop scouting until I was in junior high. I will be reaching out to the Girl Scouts of Western Ohio and the Boy Scouts Erie Shores Council for information about scouting in Perrysburg, just in case that's of interest to you. That's it for scouting. The ninth category on my vision board here is the school related category. The only two school related topics on my list are an autism awareness episode in April and Penta, the public vocational school here in Perrysburg. Next up is category 10, City of Perrysburg topics. Right now, there is only one episode idea in this category, and it's a big one. Would you like to know what's going on with Revitalize Perrysburg Phase 2? I'm working with the City of Perrysburg's new Public Information Officer, Casey Kenworthy, to bring you an update on Phase 2 in the spring. Like I said, that's the only episode idea in the City of Perrysburg category right now. Police and fire topics are next. This is the 11th category out of 12. We are almost done. For police and fire topics, I would like to get together with the Perrysburg Township Police and Fire Departments in 2026 to talk about any topic of their choosing. I'm also open to featuring the City of Perrysburg's police and fire departments again, too, but I would like to make sure to reach out to the Township Fire and Police Departments as well. That's it for police and fire topics. The 12th and final category is the miscellaneous topics category. In 2025, I had more than 10 episode ideas in the miscellaneous category, and I did quite a few of them too. This year, I only have 4. They are Small Business Saturday, which is in November. And seeing as how the podcast ends in July, I'm not really sure how or if I'll use this idea. The second idea is an interview with a local realtor. I would definitely like to include my friend Mona Kamari or my friend Donna Friesner's son, Alex. So look for an interview with a local realtor in 2026. The other two ideas that are in this miscellaneous topics category are internet providers in Perrysburg and ways to give back in and around Perrysburg Part 2. I realized after publishing that podcast episode that I did not include the Perrysburg Rotary, the Exchange Club, and an organization called Bags of Love. Please let me know what other ways to give back were not mentioned in episode 127. I can't get them all, but I love all the feedback of people telling me what I missed. So if you know of something, please email me, kim@perrysburgpodcast.com. And that's it for the 4 episode ideas in the miscellaneous topics category. Wow, we covered a lot today. I covered the 12 categories and 46 episode ideas for 2026. Remember, there are only 26 weekly episodes remaining in this podcast, including the finale episode on July 3rd. Subscribe to or follow the Perrysburg podcast to find out what makes it onto the show in 2026. Thank you for listening to episode 128 of the Perrysburg Podcast. We talked about my vision for the Perrysburg Podcast in 2026, the vision board, and the episode ideas. There's a lot coming up, and if you can help me in any way to get the content and interviews that I need for all these great upcoming episodes, please reach out via email. My email address again is kim@perrysburgpodcast.com. I will put that email address in the show notes on perrysburgpodcast.com, and you can also see it in the description for this podcast on your podcast player. Speaking of the show notes, you will find lots of links in the show notes today, links to many of the people, places, and things mentioned in this episode. I have a link to last year's vision board episode, the Instagram link for Musicians for Causes, that's Robbie Shang's student led nonprofit group that inspired the arts category. I've also got a link to sign up for the Perrysburg Podcast newsletter and more. Sign up for the newsletter, and I will email you every week when a new episode comes out. Everything you need is on perrysburgpodcast.com. If you know someone who would like this episode, please share it with them. Thanks so much for listening today. Happy New Year, and I will talk to you next week.